What's going on, my boys? YTDan back again with another Yu-Gi-Oh! True Duelist video. Today we're going to be getting in there with a brand new deck that I've been working on. Well, I guess it's not brand new. It's an older-ish Lair of Darkness. Lair of Darkness. A lot of you guys already know that I'm a Duel Links YouTuber who has recently went back into the TCG. Now, a lot of people are always asking me, Dan, what do you recommend that I do if I want to get back into the game? And I recommend that you pick up 3 of these Lair of Darkness starter decks. I really feel like this is one of the best decks to play with to learn the game, because you can literally do everything and exploit every single mechanic of the game to play this deck. But anyway, let's talk about this deck. So the Lair of Darkness deck is really cool because it's basically a control deck, right? You're going to use this card called the Lair of Darkness to turn all your opponent's monsters to dark monsters. And when they're dark monsters, it pretty much lets them, I guess, opens them up to the weakness of the Lair of Darkness field spell, which basically says if you have a card effect that you use to tribute, you can tribute your opponent's monsters instead. Now, we use a lot of different cards with the Lair of Darkness to make it work because the Lair of Darkness is so powerful and versatile. Let me show you a few cards that I like to use in combination with it. My best card in this entire deck is this. Dark Spirit Art Greed. This is the strongest card in this entire deck. And it basically says once per turn you can tribute a dark monster and then you draw 2 cards. Now when you draw the 2 cards, it comes like you can draw the 2 cards if your opponent doesn't have a spell card in hand. Now you don't play this card for the effect of the spell card. You play this card as a disruptor. This card destroys opponent's strategies so perfectly because most of the time, most monsters that come on the board, unless it says this card is unaffected by traps, are affected by this card. When you activate the card, the monster that you targeted with the effect is instantly taken off the board because it's for the cost. And then they're tributed, and then your opponent cannot respond with that monster. So it just comes in really handy for getting away really troublesome monsters, and most duelists and most players of the game recently are making these crazy spammy decks where they end up having 1 to no cards left in hand, and 9 times out of 10 it's not a spell card because obviously, you know, they just they just used all the spells to do their combo. So let's just get this, let's move this over to the side just to show you a few more cards that I use that's really good with this. Obviously, Darkest Diablos, we run that at 3, and the Darkest Diablos effect says you can tribute off a monster and basically make your opponent take a card and put it to the top or the bottom of the deck. Now when you do that, the funny thing about that effect is when you have Darkest Diablos on the field and you special summoned him by tributing a monster, you know, let's just say you activated Dark Spiritual Art of Greed on your own monster and you special summoned out the Darkest Diabolos. When you tribute off their monster, that's normally a clean 3,000 direct, and then also you're gonna get some hand manipulation, which is always great. Really, another card you want to make sure you have at 3 that is pretty much non-negotiable in this deck is 3 Arima, the Wicked Mr. Puffs. Now, the Arimas basically says that you can tribute, well, you can tribute itself to draw 1 card and basically special summon your Darkest Diabolos for free. However, if you tribute an opponent's, if you tribute another monster, so maybe you tribute 1 monster that we're gonna lead up and tell you about in a second. You can tribute this and another monster. Search out the deck for Diabolos, and because the effect activates and resolves once Diabolos is in hand, you can special summon Diabolos. So the combo is, you would, if you open up with these 2 cards in hand, you could play Jester Confet, which allows you to special summon it for free, and then Arima, and then Arima's effect to pop the Confit, and then you search your deck for the Darkest Diabolos and special summon it because you just tributed. So that's one of the big combos for the first turn, and it works great if you have Lair of Darkness, because with Lair of Darkness on the field, you will now receive a Torment token at the end of the turn, and that Torment token is going to be really great to get into the extra deck for your link plays later on, but we're not even in the extra deck yet. Let's continue talking about the combos and things that we can use with Lair of Darkness. Also, I'm using 2 cards called Duke Shade. Duke Shade is a really good card. It's pretty much a kaiju. And what you can do is use Duke Shade's effect to tribute your opponent's monster, but this is a special summon. It also opens up your board so that if, let's say, this is turn 3 and you have went first, and for whatever reason you still have this torment token on the field, you can use Duke Shade's effect to tribute off this token, and when you tribute off the token, you can go ahead and just special summon right from the grave or from your hand, Darkest Diabolos. Now, Duke Shade is just very versatile, and also when he's normal or special summon, you can basically grab a Darkest Diabolos from the grave. So Duke Shade is just very versatile and just really strong in this deck. But I only run him at 2 and not 3 because a lot of times you want to make sure that you have cards like this instead on the first turn. Armageddonite. Now, Armageddonite is really strong in this deck because there's so many targets for Armageddonite, but we haven't even talked about the targets yet, but I guess now we're going to get into it. Of course, for targets, you're going to use cards like Darkest Diabolos. We also have Destrudo, and then we also have Blackwing Steam the Cloak. Now, you might be wondering, this dude has a Destrudo and Blackwing Steam the Cloak in deck. What in the ham and cheese is he going to be doing with all of this? Well, first off, Blackwing Steam the Cloak is disgusting because if you send him to the graveyard, here's the combo. You go Armageddonite to dump Blackwing, use Blackwing's effect to tribute Armageddonite, Darkest Diabolos from hand or grave. Easy. It's just a really good card, and when this card leaves the field, you get a free token, and I like to go ahead and use Kaiba King. Where's my Kaiba King token? Here you go. I like to drop them with the Kaiba King token when I get when Blackwing leaves the field. So Blackwing Steam the Cloak is going to be really strong in this deck because obviously you can send him to the graveyard very easily, and when you send him to the grave, you can be easily resummoned. But you can only use this once per turn. Once per. So by playing Armageddonite, dumping Destrudo, paying half your life, you can bring him right back. If you already had a commanding field where you pretty much had out your Darkest Diabolos or anything, this is more of like a win more combos, just another option for your Armageddonite. But basically you can now go into a synchro summon, and now we're going to dip into the extra deck a little bit. For this card here, F.A. Dong Dragster. Now this is actually a really silly card. F.A. Dong Dragster's attack points go up by the levels that it has, so it's a level freaking 7. And when the attack points go up on this monster, you can basically reduce his attack points by, I believe, by 300 points. No, you reduce it by 2 levels. You reduce his level by 2. And when you reduce his level by 2, he can negate the activation of a spell or trap. So this is like more of a win more control. You dump him on the board after you've already taken control of your opponent's board. Now we're also running 3 Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbits because we don't have the cherries or anything else. We just really got the 3 Ghost Ogres. And I would recommend that if you can get the cherries, to play the cherries, but I just only have the Ghost Ogres. Now, let's talk about the special summon monsters because we've already talked about like everything else in the deck, but I kind of just went over it just really fast here. There is a monster that is really important that I spoke about earlier, and that is the boy Jester Confit. So you have the Jester Confit, and then you also have Kaiser Vor's Raider. Now, Kaiser Vor's Raider is basically a cyber dragon, and we're using this card to special summon, the same as we're using for Jester Confit, as sacrifice, so we can bring out sacrifice fodder for Wicked Warden, so we can special out the Darkest Diabolos, or for Blackwing Steam the Cloak, or for any kind of synchro potentially, or any kind of tribute summon. It's just great to have inherent special summons in the deck. And I'm using 2 Kaiser Voice Raiders and 2 Jester Confis. Now, I don't know if there's any other technology that's ready and available that's much better. If you can let me know in the comment section. But I'm using these because this is what I have. And at this point, it's been pretty freaking competitive. Now, I haven't been able to tell you guys about the spells and traps, but since I've already went through most of the deck, talking about how the Lair of Darkness works, as you can see, all the monsters feed and serve Lair of Darkness. Now, here are all the cards that pretty much just don't serve Lair of Darkness. Now, we have 3 Storming Mirror Force. You have to kind of play this in this deck, or almost any deck coming up in Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, because a lot of people just have these monsters that are just so ridiculous and broken and untouchable, and they all come from the extra deck. So using a card like Storm and Mirror Force can definitely knock those monsters off the field and just kind of get rid of all those issues that you're having. Now, for draw engines, draw power, I'm using 3 Allure of Darkness, I'm using 2 Pot of Desires, and I'm also using 1 Upstart Goblin. We got to get through this deck fast, and don't forget that we are still using 3 of these, the most antagonizing, most powerful draw card in this entire deck. Now, you might be wondering, do you ever run into deck out? Do you ever get into trouble with low cards in your deck? Never, unless I hit 2 Pot of Desires. And it can happen, but I mean, rarely does it happen. I wasn't around playing the TCG when people were talking about this card and saying if this card was good, bad, or whatever, but I kind of want to just tell you guys right now, for anyone in my community who's wondering this card is good or bad, or thinks this card is bad, Pot of Desires is a great card. It's literally Pot of Greed. You banish 10 cards from the top of your deck, but that's 10 cards that you wouldn't have seen, because to be 100% real with you, the games for Yu-Gi-Oh! Are just like Duel Links, and they end like turn 3, turn 2, turn 5. A lot of people can just spam out a lot of monsters and just knock you out in the first turn, so it's best to play your Desires and get your +1. Now, we're running Darkhold and Regeki for board wipes. Are you surprised that Regeki is back in this game? You shouldn't be. And then we're also using 1 very techy Fires of Doomsday. It helps me get into my extra deck, and it also helps me to tribute summon if I ever really need to. And you'd be surprised, sometimes you just gotta drop a tribute summon on the boy. And then we're running 1 Terraforming. I only run 1 Terraforming because I run so many draw cards, plus 3 Arima and 3 Wicked Wardens. So having Lair of Darkness is never a problem. It's always a problem if they blow it up, but it's never a problem getting one. And then for 1 final spell card I play, Game Charge. I don't need to really say why I play this card. You already know why I play this card, but for the ill-informed who may not have joined into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or seen this card, basically you can pay 1,000 life points and special summon from your grave as many monsters as you can, or as many monsters that your life points can afford. So if I have 8,000 life points and 5 monsters in the grave, I'll pay 5,000 life points. They're all back. It's really fucking busted. Now let's get this deck out the way so we can talk a little bit about the extra deck. Now, for me, my biggest weakness is my extra deck because I don't have all the extra deck cards. I keep them in these beautiful Final Fantasy sleeves, sponsored by me, YTDan. I bought them. So let's talk about my extra deck. First thing that we're running here is staple, our 3 Link Spiders. And you might wonder why 3 Link Spiders. No, I know Link Karibo. I don't have one. It's like $30. I just don't got it. 3 Link Spiders. If you could have a Link Karibo, put in a Link Karibo and 2 Link Spiders. The reason why you want Link Spiders is because this deck makes a lot of tokens, and you want to be able to turn this token into a Link monster. And it's great because he points straight down. So if you get a Torment token because you tributed last turn, you can pop the Torment token, bring out the Link Spider, and 9 times out of 10, because you run cards like Jester Confit, you have an option to going into a different Link monster, or going into a secondary Link monster. So the best part about that is now that we have these guys kind of out here, there are more link monsters that we're running that are also Cyverse monsters, ironically. So I guess you can call this more of a Cyverse package. Cyverse package. We're running one Space Insulator, and the Space Insulator points up and down, but it's basically two of any kind of monsters. And it's like you won't really need to go into this, but if you ever get into a situation where you just are running low on link monsters and you just need a 2 out, you can just play this. Again, I'm very limited on my link monsters because I just don't have much of a collection. I'm also running a Proxy Dragon in here, and basically Proxy Dragon is a monster that can point left and right, and it only costs 2 monsters as well. So again, just some diversity in the pointers for monsters that cost 2. And then I'm also running one Dakota Taka, because sometimes you need this Dakota Taka to talk at them life points, and he's an easy 3300 beater in this deck, because again, we pop out these tokens all the time, and if you have some dank tokens sitting under his link markers, or even Darkest Diablo sitting under the link marker, you can go ahead and get this beast boosted. Now we're also running a Galaxy package that is not complete. There is a 4th card here, and I'm only running this because sometimes you do get 2 and 3 Darkest Diablos on the field, and a situation might arise where you might need to use this. I have yet to use this, but again, I do have a Galaxy package. Why do I have a Galaxy package? Why are you watching this video? The next monsters I have here is my Synchro Summon package. I'm running 2 FA Dawn Dragsters and 1 Clear Ring Synchro Dragon. Clear Ring basically can negate monster effects, and then FA Dawn Dragster can negate spells and traps. So depending on the situation, I might go Armageddon Knight Destrudo into these, and then of course they're going to be dark monsters under the Lair of Darkness. Now I do have Nightmares cards, and these cards basically are the bread and butter of this deck. I need more Nightmare cards. We need more generic Nightmares. We need Nightmare Goblin, and we need Nightmare Unicorn. But honestly, because I don't have all the Nightmares, I do kind of fall short. I pulled all these out of packs, all of them out of packs. I'm just lucky like that. But literally, they can be made with any 2 monsters, which is why we run. Of course, we're going to get the tokens out for free for Torment tokens, and then we're also running that extremely dank Fires of Doomsday. That's another method of bringing out tokens. And then of course, if you really want to, you can go ahead and play Scapegoats, and then you can get yourself 4 tokens. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do it, but having the token generation in this deck is one of the best parts of this deck, because that's how I actually take my opponents out. I execute my combos, I bring out the Torment tokens. I execute my combos, I utilize my Torment tokens along with Fires of Doomsday and any other resources I can use, and then we basically use those random monsters to summon more powerful monsters like the Nightmares to, you know, knock our opponent out. And then of course, every now and again, I might need to ride up to them life points, so I use my FA Dawn Dragster. But that's pretty much it. In terms of my extra deck, I'm still working on it. Again, like I mentioned, a Link Haribo is something I really need. And then there's lots of other generic monsters that I need that I just don't have because expensive. Now quickly, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my side deck. Side deck was made within the same premise, you know, same premise. This is all I got, but this is what I got. I'm using one of these Kaiser Vor's Raiders. Kaiser Vor's Raider is, you know, cool for special summoning. If I ever just need more, I just add them in. 2 Twin Twisters for basically pendulum decks. I also have for pendulum decks 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance. Most decks play extra deck monsters, but every now and again you run into decks that don't, so I'm running 2 Compulsory Evacuation Devices. I'm running 2 Mind Controls. It's really good. For monsters that can't be tribute summoned for some reason, you can always mind control it and then link it to the graveyard. So I love doing that, because if you got a Fire of Doomsday token and a mind control monster, now I have a nightmare creature. So I am running a one-off of an extra Fires of Doomsday in here. I'm also running a one-off of an extra Scapegoat in here just in case I want to go into more link spam And then we have a card of Demise. This is just one card of Demise in here because I own one card of Demise. And for the love of the game, we got 3 enemy controllers, commando unit, left, right, ABs. Because with Lair of Darkness on the field, this literally becomes tribute your opponent's monster to take control of your other opponent's, take control of the other monster your opponent controls, which is really freaking strong. And then also enemy controller can just randomly block an attack, and sometimes you'd be surprised how amazing stopping one random attack is in traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's pretty much it for the deck profile.